This podcast contains discussions of mature themes, including violence, which may not be suitable for all audiences. Please proceed with caution. Listener discretion is advised.
Right, how's it going, guys?
Hello, how are we?
So we're here today. We're going to talk about Halloween. So I'm here with my brother James and our friend Paul to talk about Halloween. Yeah.
Halloween.
So when was the first time you guys saw this film, and what are like your memories of it?
I saw it probably in about 97, 98. I was very young, you know. I had already seen Friday the 13th. Probably like part 3 and 4. Don't think I saw the first one until I was much older. You know, the original with no Jason, and I loved part 6. I had it on video, and then I always loved Jason more than Michael, more than Halloween, until a few years later. So yeah, it was about 11 or something like that. So
you're always a Friday the 13th dude growing up rather than a Halloween guy.
I was originally, yeah.
When did you first see this film, James, and what are your memories of it?
I think I was probably about maybe the same age, like 10, 11. I think we got it from. It was like it was a VHS. We had Halloween 1 and 2 on the same tape, and I think we got it from. Was it MVC? That old.
I think so. Yeah, a lot of our horror stuff as we were growing up, we had on VHS. I remember having the Friday the 13th films. I'm sure we got them on mail order or something, you know, because we'd have like 3 at a time, and then we'd watch the hell out of them, like, you know, every day, all day, and then we'd get like another 3, and that's how I have it in my head. Which Friday the 13th films I remember seeing most. Because
we never had number 2 ever, and I don't think I've ever seen that one the whole way through. Like I've seen clips of it and stuff, but I've never seen it. And I watched the I was watching that documentary you bought me, that Crystal Lake documentary, and I watched up to number 2, and I was like, I'll save it for when I next see it. But number 2, yeah, I don't remember ever seeing it.
When did you see it?
I remember seeing it on. It must have been Halloween night. They were definitely showing it on. I think it was BBC Two. That's the first time I saw it. It's got to be in like the late 90s, because I remember being. I was in high school. Yeah. So it was like the late 90s. And then after that, obviously, bigger love of horror, you know, so we would have it on VHS and, you know, watch the shit out of it, basically, you know, and that sort of opened the doors to, you know, things like Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street. Although I do remember seeing the Nightmare on Elm Street films before seeing any Halloween film.
I remember you said, weren't you being babysat? And you were like super young, and they let you watch Nightmare on Elm Street, the first one.
Oh God, yeah, that was my cousins. Yeah, they let they let me watch the first Freddy film, which is pants shittingly scary. So, so that's my memories of Halloween, the first time.
I'd say watching it, like, that was what made me want to get into film. I think, like, watching that, and I was like it was a massive influence. But yeah, that's what made me want to go to college.
It's what got me into John Carpenter films, really.
I actually saw The Thing before Halloween. My brother had it on VHS, and I remember the front cover, you know, that like the face, the like blurred face, and I remember being like, because everyone was talking about the film It, which I had seen bits of, and I was like, It and Thing are like very similar words, and I was like, I found this video with The Thing on it, and I remember like a few of my friends, I was telling them about it, and none of them believed me. And I was like, I'm going to go and get it. And I went to go and get it. And it was gone. And I was just like, but I did find it. I did find it in the end. And I watched it. And it was horrifying, to be honest, at the age of like 9 or whatever it was, maybe even younger. Because my brother was in the army, so he like left all his VHSs. And The Shining was one of them as well. And that was pretty.
Yeah, was The Thing made? It was made after Halloween, wasn't it? Judging by
yeah, The Thing is 1982 off the top of my head. Halloween is obviously 78. Yeah. Paul, would you say The Thing is your favourite John Carpenter film?
No,
Halloween, yeah.
Halloween.
James, what would you say?
Yeah, I mean,
I don't think I've seen enough to actually say that, but I'd have to say Halloween. But I watched. What did I message you saying? I watched the other day. It was like, about the writer or something, and they go to find him. They go to a small town to find him.
Oh, that is In the Mouth of Madness. Sam Neill.
Who's in it? Yeah, it was Sam Neill. Me and my mate put that on. I was like, didn't know what it was, and I was fucking hooked. It was so good.
He's John Carpenter. He can be quite hit and miss. Like through the 80s, his films are like some of the most perfect films. And then I think after I think his last good one might be Big Trouble in Little China. And a lot of the stuff from the 90s, like Ghost of Mars and John Carpenter's Vampires, it's they're okay films, but they're not. They're nothing compared to his 80s work. The Fog, The Thing, obviously Halloween.
Do you reckon he would have had better films later on if his earlier films, like The Thing and Halloween, had done better? Because especially The Thing, that was a huge bomb, wasn't it? And it wasn't critically acclaimed.
Was it a bomb?
It only became as well known as it is and all that because of its cult following, and similar with Halloween, even though Halloween's is now made something like 150 million over time. Just from
Halloween at the time, it was the highest grossing independent film at the time. So I've actually got the numbers here. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre was the highest grossing independent film until Halloween, which adjusted for inflation. So Halloween was made for $300,000. Adjusted for inflation now, it's 1.5 million, and overall it grossed $336 million back. So what a success!
When's that? So when is that? So obviously it's grossed that much, but is that from now because it's made the franchise, or
that's just from that first film? Yeah.
Jesus Christ! Actually, all the other films probably lost them money.
Halloween was the highest grossing independent horror film until it was the record was broken by what film?
Is it a horror film that beats it? Have I seen?
You've seen it. You love it. It's a great film. The Blair Witch Project.
That was it.
Wow, it was that long.
Until 1999, Halloween was the highest grossing, for low budget independent horror film until 1999 when The Blair Witch Project beat it. And The Blair Witch Project was made for $950,000, which is 2/3 of what Halloween cost.
I've never understood how that film cost so much.
Yeah,
I know this. A lot more goes into it than we see, but there are 3 main actors in it, and then about 10 extras or something, and it's all filmed. Yeah, I know there's editing, there's marketing, and all that.
Yeah, because they set up and they did that document. Well, it's like a behind the scenes documentary.
Yeah, that's really good.
But it's told as if it's like a Netflix documentary. Yeah, it's so ahead of its time.
The whole Blair Witch Project was really, but
it's fucking so good.
Well, I learned the fact the other day that Smile, that it cost something like $8 million to make, and they put $50 million into their marketing. That's me trying to remember what I heard the other day, but they definitely put a shit ton into their marketing because they bought up fan seats in sports games and stuff and made actors smile in the background and
creepy as fuck,
shit like that,
Yeah.
What kind of marketing do you think Halloween had? Was it just showing it in drive-ins and on a Halloween night, maybe?
But you imagine, back then, people watch it. Imagine, the word of mouth being I've just watched this scary-ass film. I'd be like, oh, what is it? It'd be so...
So,
it gives me goosebumps thinking about it.
It was originally going to be called The Babysitter Murders.
It was, yeah.
And then they were they decided on the name Halloween. They were like, wait a minute, how wasn't anyone called a film Halloween at this point?
Yeah.
So, imagine the marketing from just hearing a film called Halloween.
When it's released in October, people are just gonna go and see it because October's spooky time, and a film called Halloween for the festival. Yeah, it's considered the godfather of slashers, the first slasher in inverted commas, because Black Christmas came out first. But it's so much more than a slasher film. It's so clever and basic. It's not like a slasher film like the later Jason films or the Freddy films where you're cheering the killer on. Oh yeah, go on, get her. It's actually like a
that's the thing that didn't really exist.
So Halloween, it's not that, but it is responsible for that sort of thing. The killer being the main character. Oh, maybe not the first film. It's more like the franchise as it went along, you know.
Because I was thinking then, when I was making some notes, I was like, do you think the film would feel so different if, imagine the first section when he's a kid and he kills his sister, if that was just chopped off and you'd never saw that? Like, it would be much more... Well, much less. It would just be about literally like a stalker.
To me, he's like a force of nature. You know, he's like the mask, the overalls, everything. He's just meant to be like a blank. For me, when looking at him, he is like a force of nature. This literally the boogeyman. You know, like this spooky thing that comes around every Halloween. So, you know, humanizing him like that, it's not an odd choice. It's, you know, it's obviously the right choice. I'm not going to criticize, you know, one of the greatest films of all time.
No, yeah.
I think I read somewhere that John Carpenter said something like humans are more terrifying than, you know, supernatural things. So the fact that you get that opening scene where he's a kid, then he grows into an adult, and then he goes about his business of...
Sorry, even though he's not supernatural per se, you know, like Jason or Freddy, he is like mythical, you know, he's scarier, you know, he's like almost like he's made of smoke and mist, you know, you don't get to see him in the first film a lot.
Yeah, that's what makes the film better than other films, other slasher films, because a lot of the time he's just in the shadows, he's in the window. James said before, like, if you cut out the first bit and then it would just be a film about a stalker. So imagine if you cut out the first bit, then cut out the bit where he steals the car, cut Loomis out of it altogether, maybe, and then just have it so you got Michael, the shape, following around Laurie. She's the only person who sees it. It could even be like, you could make an edit so it's like a film where you don't know if he's real.
Yeah.
Like, is she just losing her mind, or is this like big twat following her around trying to kill her? Yeah,
because I only just noticed when I rewatched it for this podcast, you know, when she's in the classroom and she looks outside and he's there, I only just noticed that he's actually stood behind the car looking at her. I'd never noticed that before, and I think maybe because the VHS we had was such bad quality, you just couldn't see his mask.
Oh, so you thought it was just like no one there?
I thought he was like parked in the car, like looking at it.
With his window
like
down, his arm hanging out, having a shot.
yeah. But then, since I've had it on DVD, like, there's also the scene where he drives past the three of them walking home. And again, the VHS must have been such bad quality. But like in this DVD, you can actually see him like looking out the window and like moving his neck, and it's so creepy. Like an old man trying to get a look at these young girls. It's fucking horrible. Even though he's only 21. But that's another thing about his age. I always remember as a kid being like, oh my God, he's 21. He's like this massive, scary man. But like, imagine if a 21-year-old tried to like break into your house now.
They'd all be wearing puffer jackets and have zombie knives and shit.
Yeah, I know. TikTok haircuts. And
I actually, when I saw it, I don't remember actually knowing his age or like clicking what his age was, you know, like he's 6 and then it's that many years later. I don't even think I registered that kind of thing. It was just like this thing, this man. It's like I remember having nightmares about Michael, then Terminator and Freddy coming after me with like no way of escaping, and that's what those films are there for, you know, to make you have those feelings. But so age to me didn't really register. Her age didn't register too much either because she looks about 40 odd.
Yeah, she looks about what?
About
sorry,
40 odd.
How old?
It might be the clothes and that.
But like even watching it back again, I was like, I don't see them as like 16, 17-year-olds. Like you said, they seem like a lot older. But I guess it's because I watched it from a young age. I don't see it as...
It's old-fashioned clothes and that as well, isn't it?
Michael's 21, yeah, but he's 21, but, you know, it's almost like, you know, he's ageless. It doesn't matter that he's 21, you know. In the new films, he's obviously, like, in his 60s or however old he is, but he's still the same. He's got the same strength. He's the same look. The moves the same.
Yeah.
Again, it goes back to him being, like, a... you know, like the boogeyman, you know, this mythical, ageless monster that just comes out of the shadows to get you. But another thing I was thinking of is going back to how he's like in the shadows. You don't get to see his mask properly for a long time. It's the last half hour, I think. It's after he's been in the ghost costume and he picks up the phone and Jamie Lee Curtis is on the other side. And that's the first like long good look you get at the mask. It's
like a full-on
and even that, it only lasts for a couple of seconds before it cuts back to Laurie Strode in the house. Yeah, and it's uncanny. It's spooky. You know, like those old Clash of the Titans films, the monsters would be
like the stop motion.
Yeah. It just looks like unearthly, unsettling.
That's so true. Yeah, God, I never thought of it like that. Yeah.
Well, they said about it being like a Jaws film. So you only see the shark in that film for like 10 minutes or something in the total runtime.
Yeah, throughout the whole film.
Hiding away the monster or the main threat is much scarier than showing, because it's like once you've seen it, it's like, who cares?
When you see it the first time, you think, oh god, that's scary. Then for the rest of the film, they've got to make it look just as good as that first time. So
exactly.
It's quite a difficult job. So just less is more. Especially in
less is more in horror, always, for me anyway.
So I rewatched this. I've rewatched this a couple of times over the past couple of months, and I've noticed in this film, Michael, he's not this massive lumbering monster, that he'd become. He's not like Kane or the Undertaker. Like he's in this one, he's fast and he hides. Later films obviously he becomes this giant like Jason sort of. But in this, it's a massive difference. It was quite like, because I hadn't seen Halloween for probably a couple of years, so when I watched it, it was quite a shock to see that he was, fast and sneaky, and he's clever, he hides.
Like the opening scene, like you've said this point before, but like the fact, when he steals the car, he like dives on it from the back like a ninja, and it's just like, what the like Halloween 4 Michael Myers wouldn't do that or something. Well, he does go on the top, but you know what I mean, he's like you said, just super agile and like.
Do you think that the later Michael could have been more influenced by Jason?
Yeah, definitely, absolutely, yeah.
Because
I don't know, because early Jason's like early Michael Myers in the first one. When he's like jumping around and stuff like that. I think in Halloween 2, he's like then he becomes the robot thing, and then I think they were like, right, this has set the tone.
For what he's going to be.
That was down to the John Carpenter's decision, wasn't it? It was they've got to make him more scary. They've got to make him more ferocious. He's got to kill more. He's got to be more aggressive. That's what I heard or read. I can't remember. But they were like, what are we going to do for the sequel? It takes place straight after. You just got to make him a bit more mental, basically. That
scene where he emerges from the shadows and he slashes Laurie and she falls down the stairs, and then he stalks her down the stairs and into the kitchen. Now, there's a couple of seconds where it cuts back to the top of the stairs and Michael swaps the knife in his hand and he sort of lurches to the top of the stairs. And again, it's not like the slow, robotic walk. It's like he's like an orangutan, it's really, really unsettling to watch.
I remember watching again on the VHS, like the quality was just so bad and the film is so dark that you just can't see anything. But when I rewatched that scene and you can actually see him moving and stuff like that. Oh, like when he's walking down the stairs, I never used to know what the hell was going on there. And she runs from one end of the house and she can't get out, so then she runs across him again, and the editing is so he's like, oh my god, he's only got 3 steps left before he gets to the bottom, and she literally runs past him.
Yeah, I think that during the kitchen scene, when he smashes through the kitchen and he comes in and she breaks the glass to escape, and he's like 2 meters away from her before he can catch her, and it's a really tense scene. The whole ending is just really tense.
I was thinking about that the idea that you mentioned ages ago, saying in this he's obviously only chasing them because they came to the Myers house that morning, and I always think what if it was a cult that were obsessed with young Michael doing that to his sister, and this is just some random guy who's hanging out in their house.
It's quite nightmarish, that scene as well. She runs out into the street, Laurie, and she's screaming, help me, and banging on doors and windows, and nobody's answering, and it's almost like there's just no adults in all of Haddonfield, apart from Sheriff Brackett and Donald Pleasance. It's like a bad dream. It's like, if you were running from a monster in a dream and you're banging on these windows, and the people just think it's a Halloween prank.
It's like an episode of Ed, Edd and Eddy, isn't it? There's no parents anywhere.
Or they're all at a massive Halloween party, like in Kills, where they all celebrate Halloween.
Oh,
you can imagine a Hocus Pocus style party where all the adults are all just dressed like Madonna and stuff, and they're all just getting wasted. And, while they're babysitting, their kids are being babysitted, they're just getting stalked by Michael Myers.
So what do you think of what's your favourite kill in this film?
Oh, I say another thing that I noticed when I rewatched it was, which I never really got as a kid. When Annie, she tries to open her car and it's locked, so then she goes back and gets the keys, but she doesn't unlock the car to get in the second time. So she just and she's like singing.
She
and
twigs
whistling.
though when she sits down. She's like, "Wait a minute, the car was locked," you know. And then she comes back and it's unlocked.
Yeah, but she also the condensation from Michael breathing in there. She looks up, she wipes it off, and she's like, "What?" And I never got that as a kid. And now, like watching it back, it's fucking terrifying.
It's because of the crappy VHS quality. There was a lot you couldn't see on the first Halloween film. You know, watch it on VHS, especially one that was so well used and well worn. You know, I'm surprised it didn't break sooner.
Yeah, but yeah, I think that's probably
my favorite is Judith, the first.
Oh,
kill.
at the start.
Yeah, because of the Michael.
Yeah. What about you, brother?
Yeah, I think my favourite is I can't think of her name now. Not Lindsay. Is it Annie?
Annie Brackett.
No. Yeah, sorry. So yeah, it's Lindsay. It's you know she's when she gets strangled when Michael's dressed as the ghost. Now there's a really really good shot in that as well. It's after he stabbed Bob and pinned him up against the wall. And it cuts back to Annie, and she's waiting upstairs, and you just know that he's coming up to get her. And I just think, oh my god, what horror is she gonna have to like endure now? And then it could look really stupid, you know, where the door opens and he's wearing that ghost costume. Like, it is ridiculous that he's put that on, you know. But if you go and watch it, it's actually like so creepy. And it just swings open, and we, the audience, know what's under there, and she doesn't, you know. And I'd say yeah, that's probably my favorite kill in that, just because you get that bit with the ghost costume, and then afterwards you get the we mentioned it before, the when he picks up the phone, the first good look at the mask, and I think that's just one of the most terrifying things in any horror film I've ever seen.
You think, like, going back to that kill, obviously he puts the ghost costume on. Isn't that so... Is he doing it to fuck with her, or is he doing it so he doesn't get caught? Like, it just seems so out of character.
I think he's doing it because he's just trying to fuck around, basically. Well, I mean, trying to think why Michael's doing it doesn't really make sense. I think just John Carpenter thought, you know, this would be a cool thing to put in the film.
Yeah, it's good. This would be good to put in.
Trying to think that put any motive behind Michael's actions is just pointless, really.
Yeah, it just doesn't make sense. Yeah.
I always thought about that as I was older. About, like, I remember seeing the ghost costume and thinking that's actually quite creepy, because we know that he's under there. She's not sure, but then when you're older and you analyze things a bit more and you think about why did he put that on, and like what was his idea, but as you just said, there's no point in really thinking about that, because
there's no meaning behind it. Again, it is just something I think it's just something John Carpenter thought looked good, and he was right, it does.
But with that though, do you think he has got like any like humanity inside of him? Do you reckon that is him just trying to be funny, or like, so you know they're watching The Thing from Another World? So I read that there's a part where that's playing on the TV, and he actually looks at the TV because he's watching it, because he never got to see the end of that film. So I read a thing that he's actually watching it because he's like, oh my god, that's that film that I saw that night I murdered my sister.
He's watching it in the past, isn't he, when he kills his sister? Is that on TV
on
there?
TV later again. And he stops and looks at the TV.
Yes.
No, really?
I also read, and I'd have to double check, that the part where it ends in the past when he was younger, it picks up exactly where it is when he's older and he's watching it.
So it's the next part, it's the concluding part, so which part that he saw.
Yeah, it's like literally the next scene, yeah.
I never ever knew that. Never picked up on that.
I don't know if he's got any humanity. I mean, obviously he's a killer, but he doesn't seem to be like a torturous killer, you know, until like later films. So in this one, it's just stabbings and strangling.
Yeah.
He hasn't got like he's saying he hasn't got a mean streak after doing all this, but he hasn't like nastiness. But obviously killing people is nasty.
Yeah. No, he's a top bloke.
Dude.
I can't remember what I was reading or watching or something like that, and it basically was breaking down like what's wrong with Michael Myers and stuff. Why does he walk slow? Why does he do what he does? And it's what I found really interesting. It was like he might have like sleep paralysis, like schizophrenia, where when you try and like humanize him, it puts me up. I'm like, oh, that sucks, because like he is just this force. He's not like a real person. And then with that thing, I was like, oh, that's actually really good. He blacks out, does all this crazy shit. It was just an interesting like comment. I mean, I know he's just a killer. Like, he's a character at the end of the day. So like, you don't need to look too much into it.
I've actually got a bit of a theory, but it stems from the 2018 film. When he's incarcerated, it gave me an idea of what could be going on with his brain. But we'll save that for another time because it's not relevant to this film at the moment.
Damn.
So, what do you think of Dr. Loomis in this film?
He's insane.
He's fucking. Yeah.
You know that they wanted 2 other people before Donald Pleasance. Christopher Lee. It would have changed it completely. Like, I don't think he would have brought the insanity.
Yeah, I'm glad it's Donald Pleasance. You know,
He might have been a bit more spooky than Michael though if it was him. Because imagine if he brought like
Yeah.
Dracula energy and he was just like, what?
hiding out in the bushes, scaring the kids away from the Myers house in a Dracula costume.
I've come to suck your blood.
Michael would have shit himself as well.
Yeah, fucking hell.
Do you know who the other actor was going to be?
No, go on.
Peter Cushing, yeah, that's the one.
Oh, really? So it literally was the 2 like Hammer horror guys.
I think Peter Cushing would have done a really good job actually, because he's got that refined, quiet British, well-spoken aura to him. So I think he would have been.
I can't stop thinking about him just being like.
So if you were to cast Donald Pleasance today, who would you cast? If it was remade today, or do we want to get onto that later?
I've got a great
we'll do that at the end.
remake.
We'll do that at the end. We'll get into that.
So yeah, can't wait for that bit. I think anyway.
I do think Donald Pleasance, as Loomis in this first film, he's a lot more subtle than he is in obviously in the later films. Because I mean, he's a bit mad in this, because he knows what's coming, but he's on edge. Like he's the only person that really understands what's going to happen.
He just goes along with the pace of the film, though, doesn't he? Everything else gets more insane, so does he.
I think it's funny as well because he's obviously got all these thoughts and stuff about Michael, but the only person who listens to him is Sheriff Brackett, so he just goes off on these tangents. And what does he say to him at one point? He's like, more fancy talk. Look. Because every time he asks him a question, he goes on to this long monologue about...
He starts fucking waxing lyrical about just everything, the nature of evil and all this. It's like, mate, I just want your help tracking him down, that's all.
He's been telling all his colleagues all this
Bracket's
stuff.
like, this fucking
for God's
guy
sake,
again.
Loomis.
He's like,
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Imagine when he goes back in Halloween 4, they're like, oh, not again. That's the worst curse Michael brings on Haddonfield, is bringing Donald Pleasance with him.
The thing is, though, again, in this one, he's smart trying to hunt Michael. He doesn't want the streets being filled with cops and flashlights because he knows they'll never find him that way. He's trying to use his, because the sheriff says, I'll put an all points bulletin out. He says, no, if you do that, they'll see him on every street corner. He'll be there. So he's like, we've got to use our brains. To
I like the line. He's like,
just
tell your officers to keep their eyes open and their mouths shut. It's like,
It's why he's in this one. He goes mad, obviously, in the later films.
He goes mad.
Yeah. But even then, what I just said then about him tracking down Michael, he only ends up finding Michael.
Well, he sees the kids running out.
Sees the car parked. He's been outside the Myers house all night, and then he hasn't even looked at this car.
Oh yeah, saying that.
He just happens to notice it. He's like,
the house.
He is around.
They drive to the house, don't they? Annie and Laurie drive to the house. Then when they're babysitting, it's actually ages away. Not that it really matters.
The thing is, you say about Loomis, telling the cops not to start flooding the streets, and it actually proves that they shouldn't have done that in the later films. So Halloween 4, you get that bunch of rednecks who are like, hey, there he is, and then they just kill their own mate.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And then they run over that.
It's Ted Hollister.
So they run over that lad who's dressed like.
That's in 2. That is.
It just shows that they by spreading the word and getting everyone out after him, it just does not work. And also, it doesn't work in Kills either when they get a giant group of people to attempt.
Yeah, they touch on that in Kills, and they get this. It's like a South Park mob, isn't it? There he is, get him!
Way of describing that.
Back to I was going to say about his. We were saying he becomes the shape, and then he's in this one he's nimble, and he can jump around and stuff like that. And then obviously Halloween 2, 4, etc. He's just this guy that walks. But there's this is going on to a different film though, so I don't really. But later on, say is it in H2O, I think it's because Scream had come out, and they're he becomes more. They're we've got to speed him up or something.
Yeah, he's a lot faster in H2O.
But there's parts of him in
is.
5. Do you remember that bit in 5? I don't know if you do, but when Loomis is he's talking him out in they're at the Myers house, and he's talking him out. He's like, "Come on, Michael, take the mask off," and he touches his mask, and Michael just loses his fucking shit and just goes crazy, starts stabbing stuff up, and it's you don't really see that.
What's yours favourite Halloween film? Well, you just said your favourite one. while we're on that slight topic?
2. Halloween 2, easy.
2.
Yeah, I think I'd say Halloween 2 is probably my favourite. I mean, I know that this film is the more important and, probably the best one. But, I mean, for me, 2's a personal favourite for me,
Well, we've had this conversation on a group chat before, and I think my favourite's 4. Because I think it's the first one I actually saw, though. Because I remember in primary school and stuff, and, everyone knew Chucky. We all knew Freddy, Jason, etc., etc. But I think 4 was the first one that I saw, on TV, dead late at night. I shouldn't have seen it. I think my mum and dad were out or something. And I probably wasn't really allowed to be watching whatever channel I was. And it was on. I loved it. And then there was the whole Jamie thing at the end, the twist at the end. And I was just blown away by that at that young age. So, yeah. But also, I think it helped because I watched Halloween 3 probably about 2 months before that, not realising that it didn't have Michael in it.
Right.
So I put it on, and then I clicked and realised that it's not one featuring Michael, and then I was like, oh, bollocks. And then, however long later, after a couple of months, I saw 4 and it had Michael, and I was just like, yeah, this is the shit. This is what I've been hearing about, that kind of thing,
I rate 4. I know you don't like it, brother, but I actually think it's probably
I'm not a fan.
The 3rd best out of all of them.
I might change my opinion because I haven't seen it for a long, long time, but I really did not like that Thorn trilogy, 4, 5, and 6. But I've come around and changed my opinion on 6, but we'll get to 6 when. So, if we, looking back, I'm going to watch 4 and 5 for this podcast, so maybe I will change my mind.
It'd be interesting to see, because it's number 4. It feels like Haddon feels like an actual character, like the place. The opening titles to that film are fucking perfect. It's just shots of barren land with this haunting music, and then it's just Halloween 4, and then that's it. It's so good.
I can see him in my head, as you're saying it. I can see it with the fonts, What's your favourite moment from this film though? Altogether, overall.
I don't know. I'd say probably Loomis just going mental. That just cripples me every time I watch it. He's just so funny. He's so eccentric. It's just insane. But I don't know. I would say Michael moment, probably the finale with Michael and Laurie. Actually, no. I'm going to change that. I like all the spooky moments with Michael behind the bushes and then behind the washing and looking out the window. That build up before you know actually what's going to happen. And obviously, anyone could watch this and he's going to end up trying to kill people. But it's the build up, I'd say. So not one specific moment, but
yeah, I would say that's mine's the same as yours, Paul. All the bits, especially imagine watching this for the first time. You never see back then, and be oh my god, this guy, what's gonna happen, But yeah, I'd say they're my favourite bits, the bushes, and just when he's standing in a garden, because that's hard to see unless you rewind it. Yeah. Yeah, with our 2-pixel VHS version that we had. Awful. Yeah. But yeah, what about you, brother?
I'm going to go the opposite of you two, and probably the opposite of everybody else that's ever seen this film. I understand it's all about the build. It's a long, slow build, and when it finally explodes during the last sort of half hour, for me, that last half hour is the best part. When he's stalking Laurie, he just looks so, the shape just looks so monstrous and hideous, and it's almost, again, it's said, it's almost dreamlike. He comes this close to it, and she just gets away, and it's like an actual nightmare. But I'd say for one of my favorite individual scene that is my favorite, it's when Loomis runs upstairs and he fires the gun at Michael once, just the first shot, bang. And Michael falls down backwards into the room, and you don't see him. And Loomis runs into the room, and you expect Michael to be on the floor, but he's not. He's stood up. You see his silhouette up against the light from outside, and he's breathing. And it's because you think, oh god, Loomis has got that gun, and it's high caliber. But, he just shrugs off that first shot, and he has to put 5 more bullets in him.
Right, how many times did he shoot him? I wasn't clear. He never talked about it.
It's the first one, then 5 more times.
Obviously part of the film, but I would say if that was done now, I think, say if he'd shot him and then he falls back into the other room and then he goes in there with his gun and then it would cut to Michael. I imagine now it'd be a close-up and you can see the whole mask and it's Dah! But you don't see it. He's in full silhouette.
Yeah.
So
if it was now,
trying to
it'd
play
be
on
a
the mask,
mirror
and
jump
it's
scare.
just this guy.
Or a cat jump scare. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm saying, like, you don't even need to see the mask. The mask, I know it's blank and faceless, but it's an iconic mask, and we all love it. And we all, we could all talk about the different masks and how cool they are and all that. But it's literally just something they wanted to put on just so you didn't see who he was. It's not meant to be a scary mask, is it? It's meant to just be he's a blank. It doesn't matter what the mask looks like. It works well in the film as well, because obviously they don't need to show the mask for that scene. He's obviously a silhouette.
It's mad where the mask actually came from, though, isn't it? Because they had no money to. I mean, all the cast wore their own clothes for the film as well, but the mask was literally just we don't need to go on about what it is because everyone knows. But they had a choice between a clown mask from another film, and they were going to mess around with that, or there was the. But now,
I'm so glad they didn't go with that.
The iconic mask, maybe if they'd have carried on with it, but I somehow don't think it would have taken off as much without the mask.
Yeah, because obviously he kills his sister in a clown mask, and then and like you said, he comes out and he's only wearing that white mask just to cover his face because he's whatever, he just doesn't want to be caught or whatever. It's not like he's gone back and be like, right, I'm going to find that OG clown mask and that's going to be my leg. Imagine if that was the story.
Well, in the fucking Rob Zombie film where he goes back to the house to find the white mask that he wore when he killed Judith when he was younger.
He's got the giant
He's got
head.
an attachment to that one mask, And when he kills Judith when he's younger, he's a tiny little man with that Michael Myers
It looks
mask.
like that scene from Ant-Man, when he's running down the school corridors.
We saw that in cinema, Rob Zombie's Halloween. When it came out, we saw it
the Rob Zombie one?
Probably one of the first nights it came out. But I didn't remember that scene with the young Michael with the big mask until a few years ago. I was like, oh shit, I haven't seen that for ages, So I whacked it on and I saw that mask. It's just like, what the fuck?
So I'm gonna ask you now, if you're gonna recast the film, if they were gonna remake it today, who would you cast in? I'll say we'll do the three main roles. Who would you have as Michael? Who would you have as Laurie Strode? And who would you have as Dr. Loomis?
I actually, you asked me this question yesterday or something. So in preparation, I've had a little think, and I've come up with 5 different actors. Right. So we were talking about earlier about how we were younger, so they looked older than 1920. But I think nowadays 20-year-olds don't look 20. So if I was going to set it in 78, which I probably would, the 20-year-old from nowadays does not look old.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean. So I would cast someone who was older, who could pass for a 20-year-old, or maybe even set the age group slightly higher, so they're still in higher education, so they still could be doing babysitter jobs and stuff. Right. So as Laurie, I would cast Saoirse Ronan.
Is she the Irish girl
from Lovely Bones and Lady Bird?
Oh, that was what. Anyway, sorry, go on. Yeah.
Lost River, many more. Yeah. She's got an old-fashioned kind of look to her, I think. In Lovely Bones, she's got that's set in the 70s, I think, 70s or 80s, and she's got long, sort of old style hair, and it just that hair would look perfect as a Laurie Strode hair, even though you wouldn't want to completely try and imitate the original. But anyway, that's who I'd cast. She's absolutely cracking actress. She'd be Laurie. So for Annie Brackett, Thaisa Farmiga. You know his sister, Vera Farmiga?
Oh, Vera Farmiga.
Did I say it incorrectly? Farmiga. And her sister, she's about 30, same age as Saoirse Ronan, and she could look younger as well, she's got quite an old-fashioned looking face, got kind of a long face. I think she'd be perfect for it. She's pretty good actually. She's been American Horror Story and a few other things, so she's got a bit of horror in her. So Sheriff Brackett, I would cast Macon Blair.
Yeah.
Have you seen
the main guy in that?
He's
I know him.
The guy at Blue Ruin. The main guy,
Oh yeah, he'd be awesome,
so
actually, yeah.
Yeah, he is such an underrated actor if you've seen him in anything
Blue
else.
Ruin's a fucking quality film.
He's in a Green Room as well.
Who is he in that?
He's only got a smaller role in that, but he's still really good. In Green Room, he is the guy that I think he books the band, and when they first go to the barn or whatever it is they're playing in, he books them in.
Okay, yeah.
He tells them the rules and stuff like that. But he's a cracking actor, and he's not in enough, I don't think. But he'd be pretty cool as like a cop to try and take on who I would pick as Loomis, which I'd pick Jason Isaacs. He is actually older than Donald Pleasance was in 78. He was like 58, 59 in 78. And I actually looked through a list of, because I couldn't think of who's like 60. So like I googled actors who are 60. Jim Carrey's 62.
Oh God!
So
Imagine that.
he's like 3-4 years older than Donald Pleasance was in the original Halloween, and like
shit.
So like a lot of actors who are around that age now are like Jim Carrey, Brad Pitt, Tom Cruise, that kind of thing, and it's like obviously you're not going to get them. But Jason Isaacs, we know he's like
that sort of level, isn't he? You know, he might consider doing it. You know,
well
he's not
enough,
too famous,
but not too well known to be like everyone knows him, but people probably don't know his name. I
think you've got to have. I think for Loomis, you have to have a British actor,
but not like Malcolm McDowell. Like I wouldn't say he's a bad choice, but I think he's too well known to take on the Loomis part. Like in my opinion, so someone like Jason Isaacs is.
See, I'm just while we're on the subject, I'm just going to say who I would have chose for Loomis. I would have chose Michael Fassbender if I could choose anybody. Michael Fassbender. Yeah, if I could choose anybody, he'd be like.
Sorry.
My Loomis was Charles Dance.
Ah, yeah, actually, yeah, that's a good shout.
Or it was that, or J.K. Simmons.
J.K. Simmons.
Or Ed Harris, but I think Ed Harris is too evil.
Yeah, I think Ed Harris is too. He's too famous,
too
you know, for a start.
Yeah.
Well, imagine Loomis is pretty fucking creepy.
He's more chaotic than creepy, I'd say.
Yeah,
but Ed Harris is great though, isn't he?
Oh, he's fucking ace. Yeah, but he's not right. But he looks the part. But
I got one more here for who I'd get to.
Sorry, who
Michael.
else did you have?
Gwendolyn Christie.
Gwendolyn Christie.
For Game of Thrones.
Oh shit! Yeah, fuck yeah, Brianna Tarth. Yeah,
she is a woman, obviously, but she's got the right build, I would say, because Michael in the first film isn't like the beast that he is in the later films, but he's still tall. He's still like a big dude. She's also quite slim, so
she's built as well. She's tall. You know, she's huge.
Is she not too like this? She'd be good at playing. I think the later Michael's really massive.
I don't think she's that big. She's not like she's like 6'3" or something. So she's not going to tower over everyone, but she's still going to have that big imposing presence. She also looks a bit like him as well.
That looks like Jennifer Tilly.
Yeah, I could see that as a casting. I think that would be pretty cool.
But not advertise it though.
Imagine the fucking shitstorm if they cast Gwendolyn Christie's Michael Myers. You'd have all the dickheads.
Yeah, I know.
I know. Yeah.
They would just be painful.
Yeah, but you're not presenting Michael as a woman or trans or anything like that. It's just this is an actress who's capable of playing a man. That's all it is.
Yeah, she'd be a good shout. So you got Gwendolyn Christie, and then you've got Jason Isaacs and
Saoirse Ronan.
I can't think who you said for Laurie. That's it, yeah. And for Brackett as well, the guy from Blue Ruin. Yeah, that's a pretty decent cast actually. Yeah, I quite like that.
Yeah, I was sorry before we go on. I was thinking about who I'd cast as young Michael Myers, but I literally don't know any 6-year-old actors. So
that is an important casting you need as well, because they wouldn't be in it for long, but you need to just get the right look, you know, just for that one scene, basically, just for the clown unmasking.
But you'd also have to make it so that his parents aren't just standing there like, what the hell's happening? And his mum's got hands in her
with
pockets,
their hands in their
just
pockets,
like chilling, just like what's he done now? That kind of thing.
Michael.
Yeah. For mine, I didn't choose anybody for Michael, because I think, you know, when you say you cast for Michael now, is this like the shape, or when he gets on the mask?
Mean, just whichever. If you want to use somebody separate for his face, you know, if you're going to show his face.
Well, either way, I didn't pick anybody, so it doesn't really matter. So, no, just because like
you had one job.
You know, it's like because yeah. But like I don't know. I was actually thinking about like when I was coming up with stuff. I was like, you know, like 28 Days Later, they're all unknowns, and it's like oh, Thingy's in this. I know Brendan Gleeson's in it.
I know what you mean. They're all you know, relatively low level, lesser known actors like Christopher Eccleston and Brendan Gleeson. I think are the only two sort of names in it. You know, like Cillian Murphy and Naomi Harris wouldn't get famous till a lot later, like really famous. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah, but no. So my Donald Pleasance was Yeah, either Ed Harris, J.K. Simmons, but J.K. Simmons is a bit of a jokey answer. But yeah, Charles Dance.
I would be happy with
like
that.
You said, like
if
a
that
British
came out as
sort of
a new Halloween film, or the TV series that's possibly coming out. If they were like Charles Dance's Loomis, I'd be like, yeah, that's pretty sick. To be fair, I'd be up for that.
Yeah, like hell yeah, right? Yeah. For Laurie, I don't know. My first thing was like a young girl. I just like Jenna Ortega, but then I was like, that's so obvious, such an obvious choice. Mia Goth was another one.
I had Mia Goth for Annie Brackett.
Oh, nice. Yeah. But yeah, no, I didn't. So I only did those two.
I'd say you'd be good. As a good idea for Laurie would be Maisie Williams. Arya Stark.
Oh, yeah.
She's got that kind of like that wholesome look about her. I think she'd be a good Laurie.
I think if I could go back, if you could like cast any actor at any age, I think Toni Collette.
Jesus.
Toni Collette, however you say it, would be a good one because she's one of the best actresses as well. She'd be good. What about you, brother?
I reckon. I actually think now you've said it, Toni Collette would be a good Dr. Loomis.
Oh,
that'd be pretty interesting. That'd be pretty. That'd be pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good shout. You'd have all the people calling you woke again, though, wouldn't you?
Yeah, but fuck those guys. Yeah. But I think she'd be pretty awesome as Dr. Loomis.
That's a good shout.
For Michael Myers, I'm probably going to cheat here because I love Michael Myers in the Rob Zombie films, and I fucking love Tyler Mane. I love the size of him. I love his build. I love the way he is, Michael. Again, he's fast, but he's massive. I would just recast him. But I do like the guy that plays Michael in the three new films, James Hugh Courtney. I thought he was such a good Michael.
What was that?
James Hugh Courtney.
Oh yeah, in the new films he's fucking well scary. Like obviously they're not very good, but him in those, when he's just walking around the streets and he's like, right, I'm going to go into this
tracking shot of him just choosing his weapons
this woman.
And stuff. Yeah, it's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
He's really methodical. Yeah. I'd say it is cheating, but I'd say I'd use Tyler Mane again.
Do you reckon? So do you prefer then Michael being this big, massive, scary monster?
I don't know. It varies film to film, But I just like his performance in those in the Rob Zombie films.
What about when he shouts "die"?
Oh, in the director's cut.
No, it's Halloween 2.
Oh shit, is that in Halloween 2?
Director's
he kills
cut,
Loomis. He's like, "Die."
I don't mind it because he's been speaking as a kid, in those Rob Zombie films, So
it's a different universe,
and it's a whole different take on Michael Myers, So I don't mind it that much. I'd tell you who might be a good one is I'm just going through the Rob Zombie cast now. Is Richard Bray could be pretty good I know he's in Halloween 2, Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, but he'd be good in any sort of remake, in any sort of role. He'd be a good Dr. Loomis, actually. Richard.
Yeah, he's got
that gaunt face.
What as Michael?
Yeah, he's quite tall. He's Richard Brake. The guy from he plays the Night's King in Game of Thrones. He's in Rob Zombie's 31. He's Three from Hell in that as well.
Bloody hell.
Doesn't he kill Bruce Wayne's parents in Batman?
Oh yeah, he's Joe Chill in Batman Begins. Yeah.
Who would you cast him as though? Yeah,
I think he'd make a good Michael, to be fair, because he's a lot slimmer than say someone like Tyler Mane.
He's like lean, skinny, nimble. Yeah.
He's only 4 feet tall though.
What?
No, he's 6'2", he is.
What the fuck you talking? Who do you think I'm on about? Oh yeah, I'll cast this 4 foot tall Michael Myers.
Who for bracket?
I didn't come up with anyone for bracket.
No, I didn't either. But I would say the Rob Zombie's choice for bracket.
Again, yeah, I was just about to say, I don't think
Brad Dourif.
Brad Dourif's bracket was awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
I mean, I don't know if you could afford him for a Halloween film or if he'd ever do it, but maybe like Mark Hamill would be pretty good as a sheriff bracket,
Yeah, I tell you what, actually saying that, like Brad Dourif would actually make a really good Loomis, I think, because in Rob Zombie's films he's quite like expressionate with his eyes. He's like, oh my god, like, do you know what I mean?
What's the guy called? I can't think of his name now. Tom. He's.
For who now?
The guy that could play bracket. I can't think of his name. It's just gone completely out of my head. In RoboCop 2, the bad guy is Kane. Tom Noonan. Fucking
Tom
Noonan.
Noonan.
That's it. Yeah, his name just went completely out of my head. I think Tom Noonan would be a pretty good Sheriff Brackett.
He's in Manhunter as well.
Yeah, he's the original Tooth Fairy, the original Francis Dalhide.
Oh shit! Yeah, fuck yeah. Oh yeah, he's like freakishly tall and skinny, isn't he?
I'd cast him in there somewhere. This is with a dream casting, like an endless budget. Yeah, but I definitely use Toni Collette as Dr. Loomis. I think that'd be a really cool idea, and she'd probably do it as well. Just for the love of it.
Who did you say your Laurie was? Or did you not say yet? Who's your Laurie?
I'd say Maisie Williams would be a good choice. I think. Yeah, it's got to be someone that's
she
sort
is
of
about
recognizable.
4 foot tall, though. So she would.
It doesn't. Just make Michael Myers look all the more dangerous.
Speaking about like Michael's size and that, I think I do prefer a big beast Michael. Yeah. So like when I was thinking originally, before I thought of Gwendolyn Christie, I was thinking of wrestlers because you've got plenty of wrestlers who are huge. Eric Rowan, like obviously he'd have to cut his beard down.
Oh, he'd be good, yeah,
or whatever. But just his size, and I know he's done a bit of acting before as well.
He is a fucking freakishly large man. I reckon Braun Strowman, he's another wrestler that's that huge size, that could pull it off. Yeah.
Could have cast Sheamus actually and give him like a speaking role as Michael. He'd be like, what you doing? I'm gonna stab you.
Yeah, that first scene when they go to the house to like put the keys through.
When you look at guys like Braun Strowman and Eric Rowan, right? You look at them and they're next to they're 6'8", 6'7", massive dudes, and they're up against the small guys. Them are like 6'2", 6'3". They're the small guys. So if you put like Braun Strowman up against next to Maisie Williams, it would just look like it'd look mental. It's like whenever Cersei Lannister meets the Mountain, and he's just like fucking huge. Yeah, but he would be a pretty good shout, the guy that plays the Mountain.
See, I do like in Halloween 6, I think Michael's like quite big, and that in Halloween 6 it's the same guy who plays him in Halloween 4, which I don't think he's as big in that, but they must have I think they put a fat suit on him or something to make him a bit, because he looks
in Halloween 4 he's got that stupid looks like a toddler, that stupid fat suit.
Oh yeah, I think in Halloween 4 is it like the cuffs of his boiler suit are like up here,
and he's got shoulder pads, and he just looks ridiculous.
Yeah. So like in Halloween 6, he's really scary in that, I think, because he's like bigger, but he's not, like Rob Zombie cast Tyler Mane. That doesn't. I don't know. I was like, it's like I know it's meant to be different, but it's so different. He's not like hiding in the shadows sort of Michael, is he? He's like a unit. But yeah, no, I prefer the Halloween 1 and 2 Michael, to be honest. Like the side, like it's more about, for me, like hiding in the shadows, like scary.
Yeah, in the original, he doesn't need so much to be the big brute, because he is spooking people mostly, isn't he? By scaring and psychological stuff.
Whereas if he was just massive, I think he'd just fucking do whatever the fuck he wanted.
Yeah, more like Jason, where you just walk straight into the street and just start hunting people down and teleporting and that.
That bit amuses me in, is it Friday the 13th Part 4, where Jason like bursts through the door? And, and then he's just got this axe this hammer, and he just fucking launches it at Tommy. Because he just bursts in, he's like, oh shit, what can I do? Oh, that's so funny.
I can't think which Friday the 13th film it is, but I think it might be the second one, where a body gets thrown through the window, as a jump scare, and it's clearly Tom Savini in a wig just jumping through the window. He's meant to be the dead body of one of the camp counselors, but it's like clearly Tom Savini. He's just like launching himself through.
I got a question. So I got a question for you both. So the Michael Myers mask was based on Captain Kirk, obviously. Mm-hmm. So the first question is, if in an alternate universe you had to pick some other famous person's face for it to be based on, who would it be? Like, so imagine if it was a Spock mask that they found instead. So like, he had a fringe. And
that was one of the choices. Was a Spock
it was,
mask.
Yeah.
Oh, they actually had the choice of Spock when they got the.
Yeah, right on that blog that you sent the other day.
There's a picture of the William Shatner Kirk mask next to a Spock mask, and it does look like terrifying, but the ears, would just I don't know.
But he's got more pointy features. He'd look more like a vampire more than anything, I'd say.
One thing have you ever seen a TV show called The Bridge? You know, the crime drama from
I've only ever
Denmark,
seen The
Sweden?
Tunnel.
It's absolutely fucking awesome. You know, so in one of the seasons, I forget which it is. There's a girl and she's got a phobia of clowns, and the bad guy breaks into it's either a hospital room or a bedroom or something like that, and he's wearing a clown mask. He's in full clown gear to terrify her. As I watched it, I paused it and I looked at the mask, the clown mask. It's like a latex clown mask. I looked at it, and it's like it's a Barack Obama mask that's been painted up to look like a clown. You know, like, honestly, it's absolutely terrifying. So yeah, like I think you could use like a president's mask. You know, like on Point Break. You know, you could use like a Ronald Reagan or a Richard Nixon or something like that.
Mask, like an over-the-top Nixon mask, painted white. I mean, obviously, it doesn't matter whose face it is as long as it's not like someone with exaggerated features. So like, it just happens that the Shatner mask just worked, didn't it?
Absolutely.
But you can have a comedy answer as well if you want.
I think if you had to change the mask, if they hadn't chose that William Shatner mask, it would have been two different kind of masks. So obviously we've mentioned the clown mask that it would have been, which would have just been terrible. But I guarantee you they would have used a fucking jack-o'-lantern pumpkin head mask, which would have just been worse. Can you imagine that? Imagine trying to do this 10 scenes and you just see this fucking orange thing lurking in the background. It would just take away from so much from the film.
Or like the silhouette, and the shoulders go up like that, and it's just a massive pumpkin trying to hide.
Or like, in the back of the car, just this pumpkin lurking when he's about to strangle Annie.
Got somebody's carved it. You know how Mr. Bean paints on the at the end of Mr. Bean. Somebody's carved it like that by accident.
Fucking Whistler's
mother. Whistler's mother. Yeah.
My second question is probably easier to answer. So, if you had to choose a completely different mask, what would you choose? So, like, My Bloody Valentine, the original one. That film scared shit out of me as a kid. That's a gas mask, isn't it?
Gas mask, isn't it? Yeah.
And then you've got Jason, hockey mask. Freddy's not wearing a mask, but he's got the burnt up face. So like it would have to be something a bit iconic, but maybe something unknown at the time, you know?
I mean, obviously I wouldn't choose one because I think the Michael mask is perfect, but if I had to, I don't know. I mean, this is probably going to be an obvious answer because they were probably about 10 years ago. They were all over the place. Do you remember? Everybody was wearing them. Those Plague Doctor masks were everywhere.
I'm surprised we haven't seen a villain with a Plague Doctor mask. So my thought, because it is quite hard to think of something that isn't cheesy like a clown or a pumpkin. Have you ever seen the film Time Crimes?
No.
It's Spanish. I don't even know if it's low budget. I've seen it a couple of times, but. In it, the main guy, he's in his garden, he's got like a huge house and he's in his garden and he's looking out into the woods that are behind his house and he spots someone with bandages all over his face except for his eyes and a bit of teeth and he does this binoculars thing to look back at it and it was creepy as shit. I won't spoil what happens or anything like that, but the only thing I could think of was bandages because maybe, I don't know, he wants to cover his face and he's got nothing else, so wraps them round.
Yeah. Well, he wears that in Halloween 4. That's his mask, isn't it, when he breaks out of the...
Yeah, up until he gets the...
Yeah, up until he gets that awful...
But if that was his main one, and as he gets, he gets stabbed in the eye, he's got blood coming down one side of the bandages and all that, and then in the next film, obviously he hasn't cleaned them, so it's more like brown, dried up. I think that would be alright. It's the only thing I could think of that wasn't cheesy and shit.
That's one of the things I like about Jason's mask in Friday the 13th, the continuity of the mask, because it's the same mask that he wears pretty much through the whole series, because he gets hit in the head with the axe,
and then it's got the
in part 3, and the axe mark is there for most of the
Hasn't
films.
He got a mask with blue triangles on it in one of them though?
That's number 5, isn't it?
Roy Burns' mask, the copycat killer.
Was it in number 8 when Jason's died so many times his mask's been broke, but on number 8 he just happens to find a hockey mask with an axe mark in it. It's like, if I was going to choose a mask, I don't know if it'd be that scary. I guess if you put it in that situation, like the lighting and in the film, would be the pig mask from Slipknot.
The original pig one.
Always found that really freaky. The OG, the rubber. But then saying that, the OG clown mask from Slipknot was fucking scary. Because again, it's not trying to be scary.
Yeah, it's like an old
It's not like a
classic clown, isn't it? That's smiling and
yeah.
like from the 1930s in a circus.
So I think that would be.
Speaking of Slipknot, my favourite Slipknot clown mask was from the third album with the bandages and the clown.
Oh
nose.
yeah. That's when they went fucking wild, didn't they?
Yeah. There's also a mushroom head who had pig masks as well.
Do you remember when me and Petty bought those masks?
Yeah.
Those plastic masks. So the what's his name actually started using one of them.
The clown,
the
yeah,
clown
it's
from
the,
Slipknot. Sure.
Harlequin
He actually
mask,
used
they
one,
called
didn't
it.
he?
So it was like that. It was like the
Yeah,
smiley
and
face,
yeah.
but like see through with the clown nose on the end.
Yeah, just like blushed
Yeah,
cheeks
that
and
was
stuff
awesome.
like that. Yeah, and then oh god, that was so funny. Like walking past, like I remember like facing one way, and somebody'd be like, "Ah, you're right," and turn around. And go,
I've got some unanswered questions from Halloween, so I want you both to give me an answer. At the very start of the film, was there a power cut at Smith's Grove, and why were all the inmates just wandering around in the rain?
oh, that is such a creepy shot.
I don't think they ever. They never explained, do they? What happened? I don't think.
I don't think so. I mean, yeah. But imagine if all the other Halloween films, they wanted to do different stuff with each one. If each one was about each
I
person
think
that
I've
got away
heard
that
something
night.
about that as well. But I heard something about that being like that they put them outside or something on purpose. They're like because of the rain.
They did
to try
what?
and calm them down or something like that. I don't like a reverse lockdown kind of thing. I don't know if that's
shit.
true, but
Institutional abuse. I got another question for you. Where did Michael Myers learn to drive?
someone else can answer if they want because I think I know this, and this isn't a fact. This is me guessing. But yeah, go for it. Well,
No idea.
all right, sorry. So, for me, if you think about an American car, how do you drive an American car? You put it in, you put it in drive.
It's a go-kart, right?
It's a go-kart. Yeah, you put it in drive,
Yeah.
and you drive.
Literally
To
is,
stop,
yeah.
you press the brake, and then you put it in neutral or whatever it is, and then reverses backwards. But also, people say like, "Oh, he was institutionalized. Like, when could he have even seen?" Well, he was 6. If he's got this like mental health problem where he's focused on killing people, he's obviously got a lot of focus. What he has to do is sit next to his dad while he's driving and watch him, or his dad could have taught him. Hey son, this is how you drive a car. It's the 60s. He's probably let him drive the car. He probably made him drive to the shop.
And
and
he would have been transferred from different places, on a bus and stuff. He could just watch the driver,
Yeah, that's true. I think that's the thing. I think they maybe only address it in the film just so the audience wouldn't be like, "Well, where did he learn to drive then?"
That's true.
Yeah.
Dr. Wynn and the cult giving him lessons in the car park of Smith's Grove.
And if you just put it into reverse, Mikey, I've got a question.
Go on.
So the cemetery man when he's like, "Oh, he's telling this story." It's like, I want to know what the husband proceeded to do because he's like, "Where are we?"
Well, there is actually a comic book of that story.
Is it based on anything real?
No. It's just made up for the film. But the comic book, I can't think of the guy's name now. But the comic, they released it years ago, and it shows the story of what the guy. I think he killed his family, but I think in the story he's possessed by the ghost of Michael Myers or something. Like how they do like Resident Evil and Mortal Kombat comics and things like that. It's one of those expanded universe things. I'll look it up. I forget. How did Michael Myers survive being stabbed, shot, and falling out of a window?
Adrenaline. If we're talking non-supernatural, adrenaline, or that
He might
just
have had
doesn't
body
care.
armor on. You never know. Like he's this,
He might have had Back to the Future 3 style, a big plate that he got from the hardware store. He's just whacked it under his.
Keeps the Bible close to his heart.
Yeah. I reckon though, like if you're going to try and do it factually, like scientifically, adrenaline. His body hasn't gone into shock yet.
Yeah,
He's still.
Yeah, he could be like fucked up on PCP or something,
Yeah, maybe they were doing it all in.
That's why they were all outside that night, being like that. What the?
So have you got any other thoughts on this film? Anything we haven't said? Anything we haven't gone over?
I think watching it again in one go, which I've not done for so long, it's a lot quicker than I remember it being. Actually, it's actually not a long film at all.
It's a short watch, isn't it? Yeah, it's a very short watch.
Yeah, because in my head it was like a lot of slow shots, a lot of until it got to the good bit. It's better than I remember it being, because I always think of number 2 being the best one, which. Yeah, but no, it's just really good.
Stems from, obviously, I didn't like this one as much growing up, again, but I think it's because the VHS copy we had was so bad. You couldn't see a lot of what was going on. Now I've gone and watched it, in, not Blu-ray, but, DVD quality. It's a lot better when you can actually see a lot of what's going on in the background.
I think shooting style was like so fucking like the like the Steadicam on the opening thing. The POV shots are just so good. That whole opening scene is just. I don't know if there's anything like that before. Maybe like Peeping Tom, was that before or after?
They did a scene in Black Christmas like that, didn't they? It opens with a POV mask shot. One thing I noticed, right, which is when I was really trying to pay attention, was so I'm just looking now around the room and like the height of the light switches. For me, they're up to probably about my rib cage, maybe a little bit lower. So if you watch that opening scene where he's walking around, just even before he puts the mask on, which Judith's boyfriend drops and he picks it up, puts it on. So if you're watching it, he's walking around and his eye level is just above like the light sockets in the house, meaning that they've thought about that before the audience has. Because if you're watching that without the knowledge of it's a kid, you'd be like,
shit, yeah,
that's a really small apple, wouldn't you? Because his head height's just above a light switch, so it's about right for a 6-year-old. I was just going to say, and the arm that comes down to the side, that's Deborah Hill.
Deborah Hill,
so you can tell it's like a much smaller arm as well.
But that's a really good point, because I've never actually thought, when you first put that film on, you think it's an intruder going into some rando's house, don't you? And then it's like, oh shit, it's actually, and obviously when you find out. But yeah, I'd never actually thought about that.
Where would you place this film on a list of Halloween films?
Second, it's got to be
on a list of
second favourite.
All the Halloween films, or Halloween films that you'd watch at Halloween.
The Halloween films.
Oh, right. So I know I said earlier that the fourth is probably like my favourite. I would say this is my favourite. It's timeless. I can watch it forever. Whereas the fourth, when I rewatched it, because I try and watch all of them every Halloween, every October. I'll watch every Halloween film amongst all the others. But I would say four is lower down as I got older, but this one is probably the one it's my go-to.
It's definitely the best one. I can say that I prefer 2, and I prefer I love 3 as well.
Yeah, 3's sick. I really like. I know, Paul, you hate H2O. Like, whenever we're talking about it, you're like, fucking hell, this is so shit.
Yeah.
But it's basically Scream, isn't it? But Michael Myers. But like everything, it's completely different to this. Like everything's lit so bright, you can see everything. You can see Michael's eyes, and it's just, I don't know. I don't actually think the film's that bad, but yeah.
Where would you rank this film, James?
Say again, sorry.
Where would you rank this film?
It's my second favourite, I think, because I really love Michael Myers in the second one when he is that still, like, when he becomes Michael Myers, as we know him. It's just fun. And the shots of like the hospital, it's a lot. It's as dark as this one in terms of lighting and stuff. Like, they really kept with. They didn't try and make it something else, I don't think.
We'll talk about the second film when we get there. But so you'd say the second is your favourite over this, yeah?
Yeah, so I'd rate this one second from my top favourite. Yeah.
I can't watch one without watching the other one. So if I watch Halloween, I have to watch Halloween 2.
I'm the same with 4, 5, and 6. If I watch 4, I have to watch 5 and 6. That was a joke, but obviously it didn't land. So.
Oh. Yeah, but you like those 3 films.
I like the Thorn. Well, 5 sucks. 6 sucks. They're shit, but I do like the idea behind it. I know probably no one else on the planet does. Don't know.
No, I know what you know.
I can if that was just Halloween, it finished at 6, then I probably wouldn't like it as much. But the fact that you do have closure from other timelines, let's say, yeah. But again, I was like when 6 had come out and that whole Thorn idea had been long gone into history and whatever. God, I hadn't even seen any of them at that point, because that was like 94 or something.
95, I think.
It's weird what came of 4, though, isn't it? Because like obviously 4 with that twist at the end, it was actually nothing to do. It's nothing to do with Thorn at that point. They were just like, what should we do?
Yeah, they completely fucked it up though. They have the twist at the end of 4, which is fantastic, and then just Halloween 5, man. Just
Halloween 4's it's the same as Halloween. What is it? Jamie is like Friday the 13th Tommy, and they're going to be the next killer, and then
they completely bottle it at the end.
Yeah, which would be. Imagine that was the thing. That'd be so shit.
I've just got clips of Halloween 6 on in the background, and there's a bit where Paul Rudd is on the computer, and he's got a Michael Myers screensaver from like it's like literally the cover of Halloween 4, the mask. I just noticed it now. What the hell? How the hell did he make
How
that?
did he get that?
Did anybody see anyone take a
possible.
single photo in any of these films where he could have got that picture? Unless it's like he's just found it online because it's a picture of the original mask, and they were like, "This is the mask that he wore."
Yeah, maybe it's like a maybe it's a sketch, like a police sketch, you know.
Yeah, that's right. Or no, it's just a photo of William Shatner, really pale. He's like, oh yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Contrast the lawyer.
Yeah. Well, how would you rate the mask in this film? Out of all of them,
Oh, it's the
That's
best.
the best one.
it is
Best
the
one.
best one.
Easily, it's
Absolutely.
the original. It's the best.
Do you think we would have hated this one if this was the mask for 4 or 5 or 6, and then the mask for 5 was this one? Or do you reckon people would just gone, oh, it got better? Or do you reckon people would be like, no, it's not the original? Because people
that's
do
so
that.
true. I think I think the 5 mask is really fucking terrifying. Like it is.
Yeah, I've grown to
It's just,
grown to appreciate it.
Because what is it? So you remember? So in Scream 1 now they had 2 different masks that they were using. So is it KNB effects had that? You know the one that looks like it's been pushed between 2 bricks, and then they had the decent one, which is the one you could buy.
One of them is a mask
Yeah.
that they created for the film.
For it, yeah. But then I think they fired him, or they were like, this just doesn't work. But they had to reshoot a load of scenes. So when you see Drew Barrymore getting killed in that first scene, it chops and changes between the 2 different masks. It's so funny to watch. Really?
I didn't know that.
Oh, you
and I've
will
never
now. You will
noticed
notice
that.
it, yeah. But so yeah, what my point was, the guys who did the Scream mask that didn't go down well, I think are the guys who did the Halloween 5 mask, because it's a mold of the guy who owns the company.
They were using the Halloween 4 mask, and the director he wanted the mask to look more masculine, which it kind of does. You know, the cheekbones are more pronounced on it. You know, I hated it growing up, but I've grown to like it now because, you know, in storyline, you know, he fell in the river and the mask got all warped from the water and it's been lying by the fire at that homeless guy's place. So, you know, for me, that's how I explain it in my head, storyline wise.
To be fair, it's the hair on it's awful though, but yeah, it's like slicked back, isn't it?
Okay, sadly, that was all that we had time for, guys. If you're still listening to this, thank you very much. I really, really appreciate your support. I know that was a little rough around the edges, but hopefully we'll be much better at it for the next episode. Thank you once again for listening to Dark Talk.